Hello everyone, my name is Joanna. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are my subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new, welcome. I hope whatever you find here you will like, and I hope you stay. Let me just be very brief. Interesting messages in the month of March. For one, they flowed very differently. There seems to be a lot of transformation going on, and I do, particularly in the month of March, and it seems to be consistent with almost every single sign. Very, very consistent. So if you are drawn to a certain sign that you don't necessarily look at, by all means listen and see if there's a message there for you. The messages are not time bound, which means there is no end and beginning. These messages may make sense to you because they have happened. You are in the middle of it happening, or it will happen at some point down the road. So do yourself a favor. If it doesn't make sense to you right away, listen to it in a few weeks' time or even a few months. And from those of you who are regular subbies and subscribers and you do comment, it looks like 98% of you find that this makes sense with as time passes. Also, my focus and intention is always, always, always to give you something to think about that will help you understand yourself more deeply. In other words, my focus isn't on predicting. If an information comes through that is of futuristic nature, I am more than happy always to give. However, my focus is more about helping you understand how you create, how you make things happen. Because the moment you know how to make things happen, you will stop waiting for someone to tell you what's going to happen, because you'll be able to create it. And that is always my aim. That is what I want to teach. That is what I do teach. And that is how Spirit is working with me. What can I give you to help you see yourself as the master of your own creation that you are, so that you can understand? And once you understand, you can create in a different way. So that is always my intention, and I hope that whatever comes through falls with that. Let's put it that way. I think that's all I have for you. Listen to the other signs if these don't make sense. Of course, this is general. It may not fit with everybody, although I'm very surprised how many of you are responding and saying this is exactly what you're going through. So also, very quickly, again, the layout is very different. I don't even have a layout this month, and it was mostly intuitive. So you will see some of the messages. I look at cards, and some of them I don't even look at cards because it's flowing. So the way information is flowing for me is also very different. So I am under also a transformation, if you will. And I think that's all I have. Of course, there's a 6-month projection for you down below from January till the end of June. If you're more interested in that information is there. And more than anything, thank you so much for liking, for sharing, for coming back. For those of you who are new, welcome. I hope you stay. Have yourself a wonderful month of March. And yeah, let's get going. Hello, beautiful Geminis. These are going to be your messages for the month of March 2019. And I'm doing my messages a little bit differently, just trying to turn on the music. I'm guided to give these messages a little bit differently. So let's see what comes out for you. I do have to say that the moment I connect to these energies for the month of May, there is a sense of needing to let go of something. And it is so strong that I actually feel like I want to cry. So there's an incredible amount of energy that is building up for the purpose of helping you release something, as if to push you towards the edge of uncertainty, just to prove to you that you can fly. Now that's a huge, huge, huge metaphor. So I'm going to leave that metaphor out there for you to ponder. And the words that came to me for you for the month of March in terms of the theme. And the words are believe in luck. So particularly those of you who have been feeling unlucky in whatever area, in terms of love, in terms of providing basic sense of safety and security, in terms of attracting money, opportunities, people, love, connections, health, all the wonderful things that we all want and desire. If you feel like you have been shortchanged for quite some time, it is for some reason in the month of March, and I'm also hearing the month of May. May comes up quite often, and I wonder if there is some sort of a planetary alignment that kind of boosts this energy that I am speaking of, and you will be able to feel this more intensely in terms of your experiences around the month of May. Now, I do believe May is, yes, you guys are May babies as well, May and June. So for those of you who are born in May, you may feel this particularly strong, or the month of May, this message will make more sense to you. As you know, the energies are very fluid, so there is no cutoff or end date as far as it goes. So believe in luck. I actually saw the symbol of Ladybug, which to me represents luck. And the message here is stop thinking about the worst case scenario all the time. Change your program, like on television, once in a while and see if you like something different better. So this is about you being the antenna, and you are tuned into certain frequencies. Let's call it your inner voices. These, the frequencies that you seem to be tuning into play in your mind in such a way that make you continually feel like you are less than. Now, that is a product of your imagination. That does not mean you are not feeling it, but you are feeling it based on what you believe or imagine is you. So this is a big ass metaphor for helping you see how you might want to transform the way you see yourself. And if you have been, particularly in the last few months or few years, struggling with the concept of self, which essentially is who you are, I feel you are, number one, resisting as hell, which is normal. We all do that. But I feel like you are about to catapult forward. Now, for those of you who understand this message, or who will eventually understand this message, it means that currently you are still experiencing certain levels of discomfort. And particularly during this time, while you are still experiencing whatever that is for you. And this is not a situation that is going to happen. This is something that is already happening within you internally. It's a sense, it's a feeling, it's a sense you have about you based on whatever situations you are in. And for some of you, this may mean nothing, but if it means nothing to you, then this message isn't for you. So this message is for those of you who need to hear it. As you're going through this experience, it is important to know, but it's not just to know. It is important to believe that there is in fact something better possible for you. We can have all the thoughts and desires we want, but if the thoughts have a corresponding negative emotion, as an example, let's say some of you are struggling with finding the right relationship. Let's say the right relationship is one full of love, full of understanding, all the wonderful things that every human being wants. And that's your thought, that's your desire, that's your idea. However, this idea, which is a relationship, may have a connection to you that is rooted in sadness, that is rooted in disappointment, that is rooted in having a broken heart. In other words, your idea of a relationship, the way you have experienced it in the past, comes from a place of sadness and lack. Therefore, your wanting to reach your desire is going to be pulled by the contradictory emotional connection you have to it. Therefore, and since we attract what we believe, and our feelings are a pretty good indication of what we believe, we need to deal with what it is that's causing us to feel whatever the emotional context is with regards to relationship. Another way of saying is this: if you constantly tell yourself that you are less than by comparing yourself to others as an example, and upon comparison you realize that you are not as good as, and then you have a negative view of yourself, and then all of a sudden you look at the world with glasses that are just tainted with anger and resentment, you are perpetuating that sense of lack inside of you. So when the message says believe in luck, or believe in luck, if you have been telling yourself you must be unlucky, or other people are lucky, or you were born here, therefore you are not lucky, you are being asked to change the way you converse with yourself on a regular basis. And we converse with ourselves all the time, all day long. We have thousands of conversations with ourselves without even consciously registering it. So it is important to self-reflect in order to realize what is the conversation that you are having with yourself. If you are full of aspects of yourself that you are rejecting about you, then whatever it is that you are rejecting, we may talk about that later, your mind will find a way to fulfill it somewhere else. And I've talked about this before. Anything we try to fulfill from the outside, when it's truly only meant to be fulfilled from inside, because that's really where it is, then we're being pulled into different directions. I'm going to try to simplify this. In other words, if you have a very negative view of your life, in your current circumstance, in whatever circumstance you are dealing with, notice if it hasn't been a theme for you for quite some time. Notice if you haven't been feeling bad about yourself for quite some time. You may have moments where things were okay and then everything was fine, but then you kind of veered off and came back to this space that seems to be constant, and it's the constant feeling of lack. Because I feel many of you watching this are on the way to free yourself. And when I say free yourself, I mean freeing yourself from your own inner construct. Whatever construct you have built in order to feel safe and secure, in order to feel like you, some of that construct is no longer applicable to where it is you see yourself going. In other words, if you are striving to be in a loving relationship, you must first observe what your underlying deeper belief is when it comes to relationships, as the example I gave before. And if you realize that your conditioned belief about some situation is one of lack and negativity and disappointment, then you need to look at that and work on that aspect in order to change your future. Now, I already hear someone saying to me, I can't go and change the future. You're not supposed to. The future is, or you change the past. You're not supposed to change your past. Your past is what is, and your past is there for a reason. In other words, if you can understand your difficulties from a different perspective, and if you can draw conclusions that show you the depth of your value that you have received from these negative circumstances, then your ability to leave that past behind you will be much easier achieved. And the reason why we hang on to our past. We don't want to do it. We all do it because that's just the way it is. Because on some level, it makes us feel, well, like we are who we are. So the very thought of being somebody different, although it may seem on an obvious level that it would be fantastic, imagine the aspect that is inside of you that has always felt less than. All of a sudden, that is being stripped away and put somewhere else, and says it's almost like being dropped from one country to another without any preparation, without any language skills, without any knowing about the new country, and you just drop there. You're just dropped. Imagine what that would feel like. It would be uncomfortable as hell because everything is different. And you wouldn't know where to start. You wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't know how to behave. You wouldn't know how to speak. People wouldn't understand you. You would not be yourself. Therefore, it's really important to establish a routine that will allow you to build a brand new foundation. A foundation that will allow you to feel stronger on your feet and stronger in who you are, the concept of self. So I'm going to go through some of the cards very briefly because I feel like it's just the way it flows this month. If you have been feeling off, if you have been feeling lazy, if you have been feeling like, oh, I just don't want to deal with this world, it's just, everything is just amok, you are being invited to at least give yourself permission to try something different this month. Perhaps try on a different color that you never wear. Perhaps try a different look. Perhaps go and get a haircut that's slightly different than the one you always wear. In other words, allow yourself to step out of your comfort zone. Don't jump off the bridge to see if you can't swim, but try something slightly different. What this is intended to do, it's intended to help you go out of your comfort zone, baby steps. And when we do something different, chances are we are slightly on edge because, well, anything different means we don't know what to expect. So we don't have a lot of preparation. Point is that when you try a different experience, it almost like it gives you permission to go, okay, I tried something different. I tried this. Well, then maybe I can try something else. And one thing leads to the next, and before you know it, your life begins to change. But in order for you to try a different experience, you have to then change your thoughts. So this is a lot about giving yourself permission to be more than you currently are. And this is obviously for those of you who are dealing with something. And I feel whoever I'm speaking with or to, these are internal struggles that have been going on for years. I have an incredible pressure here on my throat, which is all about communication, which is all about expression of self, which is all about choosing to express one's vulnerability. If some of you are trying to be something or somebody, you need to ask yourself this question. Why is it so important for me to be something or somebody? And then ask yourself the next questions. What does that mean about me now? Does that mean I am not something or somebody right now? And if that's the case, think about what that means. It means you're coming from a source of lack. And we already know how this goes. The equation is pretty simple. Lack attracts like. And it's not what you necessarily think about that you want. It's what you think about that you want that has an emotional connection tied to it. So if you're coming from a place of lack within yourself, it's like trying to build a building, but you have no tools. It's pretty hard. It's just pretty hard and very exhausting. So some of the things to watch out for, and I'll show you some cards that I have, but there's no point even me talking about cards because it's just flowing the way it's supposed to flow. The message of complete surrender is what's coming up. Now, to me, 7 is the number of enlightenment. I always see number 7 that way. 0 is the number of the fool. The number of the fool. Yes, it's the number of the fool. So for those of you who understand tarot, I know some of the symbolism. And the reason I'm being asked to talk about this because in order for us to have often a brand new beginning, we often have to go through situations that seem hard and certainly feel very unstable. Why? Because when we go through these situations, we are molded into, we're growing, we grow. It's like sharpening a pencil. If I was a pencil, and I've given this metaphor before, if I was a pencil, I wouldn't want to be sharpened because I'm assuming it would be a pretty rough experience. But at the end of the day, the pencil comes out and it's a sharp tool. And if you imagine being someone who draws, try drawing with a tool that's superbly sharp and one that's very blunt. It just doesn't look the same. The picture is just not as crisp. So this is again a big ass metaphor for you to consider. But complete surrender is all about allowing yourself to accept what is, not because this is how it will be forever, but because unless you accept what is, you are continuing to fight what is. And since you cannot change what is, fighting it is not going to give you anything other than huge resistance. And we know where resistance leads. Resistance leads to, resisting. So we resist for several reasons. We resist because it doesn't feel comfortable. Change rarely is comfortable. As a matter of fact, the metaphor of growing pains is being shown to me. When a child grows, there is no stopping it. The child grows. Mother Nature has her schedule and a child grows. So you understand the metaphor of growing pains. In order to grow up, in order to grow, in order to evolve, in other words, there will be some growing pains, and many of you are going through these growing pains right now. And it is about creating consistent new thought patterns. Consistency is key. Number 1, as I mentioned before, believing in lack, L-U-C-K, rather than lack, L-A-C-K, is extremely important. Now, how do you practice believing in luck, L-U-C-K, where you have proven to yourself that you're always unlucky? That's pretty tricky, isn't it? Great question. Well, if you were imagine yourself to be lucky, imagine yourself to be lucky. Go through this exercise, close your eyes, be in your moment, take a nice deep breath, allow yourself just to be free of noise, and imagine yourself being lucky. What would that feel like? What would that look like? What would you do? How would you behave? What would you do that you're not doing now? And notice the feeling that goes with it. And for those of you who are kind of familiar with the law of attraction, it is not so much the thought that creates the experience. It is the thought that is coupled with an emotion, which is actually the fuel. So if you are wanting to practice believing that you are lucky, you need to practice actioning what that would feel like. And the reason why you may feel unlucky now is because you've had plenty of time to prove it to yourself in the past. And when I say prove it to yourself, this is not meant to be a blame, and you guys know this. I am all about empowerment. But I also know and I believe with every single ounce of who I am that we create our reality based on what we believe. But it's not a thought belief. It is what we believe as what we embody. So do this exercise and notice what it feels like. Now, some of you may say, well, if I imagine myself lucky, or when I imagine myself being lucky, It feels great. I have lots of money. It feels wonderful. But I don't have lots of money. So there's a contradiction. Okay, perfect. So notice the feeling that you have inside when you have a lot of money around you. Notice what that would feel like. And here's again the critical point. If you can have this in your mind, if you can imagine this scenario, the feeling is what will essentially and eventually create your experience. So your vision of money around you will be created by you feeling abundance deep within yourself. But if you are constantly telling yourself you're not lucky, then you're going to create consistent experience. So it is important for you to know and to recognize that you are a powerful creator. There is nothing more powerful than human mind. For human mind can create anything into existence. Everything that is in existence has started with a thought. Okay? The Light of Awareness message talks about like attracts like. What do you emit from you in terms of your own emotions about you is what comes back to you as proof in the pudding. So the World card in reverse symbolizes an ending of an era, but it also symbolizes resistance of letting it go. And perhaps I'm going to put it differently. Whatever it is that you are going through, it is important for you to understand not only so much how you contribute to it, and I know that's going to sound really harsh to some people, but for those of you who understand it deeper, you'll know exactly what I mean. I'm going to put it differently. If you can look at your experience, the one that you are experiencing right now, whatever it may be, small or large, doesn't matter. But if it's uncomfortable, if you can allow yourself to imagine you on TV screen and watching yourself going through your situation and remove yourself from it and be the spectator, be the viewer, notice what it is that this experience is showing you about you that you didn't know otherwise. In other words, when you allow yourself to be removed from the circumstance and your emotional connection is lessened, you are able to see things much more clearly. And you might realize, you might get some pretty big clues as to what the lesson is, so to speak. I don't particularly like using the word lesson because we're not here to learn. We already have knowledge. What we do not have is the felt experience. So whatever it is that you are going through, you are wanting to experience it for the purpose of knowing thyself. And the way we know thyself is by experiencing what we are not. And I feel like I could go on for another 25 minutes on this, but I'm being guided to kind of close it off. So the hummingbird is what comes up all the time, not only with my clients every day, but also in these messages. To me, I've said this before, hummingbird is just, there's something special about a hummingbird. It is, I actually hear it's a messenger of God. My idea of God is that God is everything and everywhere. You and I are all part of God. God is in everything. I do not believe in an individualized, ego-based self as a unity. It is everything we breathe and everything that we are, including ourselves. So the hummingbird comes in as if to say, wake up. This is your time. You see the orange here? I was drawn to this right away. And on one hand, I felt the hummingbird was flying away from it. And on the other hand, I felt it was flying to it. And here's what the message that I got. Do not be tempted to control your situation by attempting to run away from what you feel. Rather, use what you feel as a tool to transform your existence. Because that feeling will help you understand what the problem is. Okay? And when I say problem in quotation marks, is because there is no problem. On a human level, yes, we have a problem, but on a spiritual level, there's no problem. You're going through an experience. And the moment you understand what the experience is, the moment you get the memo of what is trying to be experienced or learned, terrible word, is the moment where you go, okay, now I know what that is. You can stop actioning it. So if you feel bad about yourself, notice how you action it. How do you speak about yourself? What do you pay attention to? What are you judgmental about other people? Are you judgmental about yourself? Notice all the things that you do that you action as a result of not feeling good. What stories do you sell yourself that are nonsense, but you keep telling yourself because, well, you've done it all along. It's just nothing is different. In order to be somebody different, or in order to be the true you, you first have to see and understand that you are blocking yourself from being that true you. And then you have to notice how you do that. So between now and May, I feel many of you will have incredible realizations, and keep affirming yourself. What does that mean? I'm going to let you decide what that means. And with that said, I am going to pause. I hope this was helpful. As you can see, these are a little bit different than last month, and my work is evolving, so I love the different flow. Please let me know how this connects with you. Please also keep in mind this is very general, so it may not connect with you right away. It may connect with you later. If not, try your other signs. But I want to wish you best of luck. I also want you to remember this. Believe in luck, L-U-C-K, all right? And of course, if you would like a private session with me, that information is down below. Thank you again so much. I wish you best of luck and take care.